In the grand halls of Asgard, home to the mighty Aesir gods, an air of excitement filled the celestial realm. Word had spread like wildfire among the gods of an invitation extended by Aegir and Ran, two gracious Jötnar who resided beneath the depths of the sea. It was a rare occasion, for the relationship between the gods and the Jötnar was often marked by conflict and rivalry. Yet Aegir and Ran were known for their hospitality, and their invitation was met with eager anticipation by the Aesir. As the gods gathered in the great hall of Valhalla, the details of the invitation were revealed. Aegir and Ran had graciously offered to host a feast in honor of the Aesir. However, there was a condition attached to their generous offer. The gods were to provide a cauldron large enough to brew mead for all the guests attending the feast. Mead, the nectar of the gods, flowed freely in Asgard, but the prospect of brewing enough to satisfy the appetites of the Jötnar posed a formidable challenge. The gods exchanged knowing glances, recognizing the magnitude of the task that lay ahead. It was then that Thor, the mighty god of thunder and son of Odin, stepped forward. With his characteristic boldness and courage, Thor volunteered for the task without hesitation. The rest of the gods, knowing of Thor's courage, allowed him to undertake the challenge alone. He was ready to embark on this unexpected journey, to venture into the realms beyond Asgard in search of the elusive cauldron that would fulfill the conditions of Aegir and Ran's invitation. With a resolute nod, Thor announced his intention to seek out the Jotun Heimir, renowned for possessing a cauldron large enough to brew mead for the entire cosmos. The gods looked on with admiration and anticipation, knowing that Thor's bravery would be put to the test as he ventured into the realm of the giants. And so, with the echoes of thunder resounding through the halls of Asgard, Thor set forth on his quest, his heart filled with determination and his eyes fixed on the distant horizon where the realms of gods and giants intersected. Little did he know the trials and tribulations that awaited him on his journey to secure the cauldron from the formidable Jotun Heimir. Thor's journey led him deep into the rugged and desolate landscapes of Jotunheim, the realm of the giants. As he traversed the treacherous terrain, the air grew colder and the sky darkened, a stark contrast to the golden splendor of Asgard. Yet, Thor pressed on, his determination unwavering, guided by the flickering light of his mighty hammer, Mjolnir, which illuminated his path like a beacon in the darkness. Eventually, Thor arrived at the dwelling of Hymir, the Jotun known for his immense size and strength. The sight that greeted Thor was both unexpected and welcoming. Hymir stood before him, a towering figure clad in furs and wielding a massive club, yet his demeanor was surprisingly hospitable. With a grunt of acknowledgement, Hymir welcomed Thor into his humble abode, where the scent of roasted meat hung heavy in the air. In a gesture of goodwill, Hymir had slaughtered 2 of his largest bulls to honor his guest, a feast fit for a god. However, Thor's legendary appetite proved to be more than Hymir had anticipated. With a hearty laugh and a voracious appetite, Thor devoured both bulls in one sitting, leaving nothing but empty bones in his wake. It was then that Hymir, seeking to assert his dominance and teach Thor a lesson in humility, proposed a plan to provision for the next day's meal. Hymir declared that they would go fishing. Thor, ever eager for a challenge, accepted Hymir's proposal without hesitation. Though he sensed the Jotun's disdain, Thor remained undeterred, his spirit unyielding in the face of adversity. As dawn broke over the rugged landscape of Jotunheim, Thor and Hymir prepared for their fishing expedition. The air was crisp with the promise of adventure, and the sound of the nearby river whispered secrets of the trials that lay ahead. With a sense of anticipation tingling in the air, Hymir turned to Thor and told him that first they had to procure bait. Thor took on the task. With a confident stride, he made his way to Hymir's pastures, where the remaining bulls grazed lazily in the early morning light. Thor unsheathed his mighty hammer, Mjolnir, and approached the largest bull with determination gleaming in his eyes. With a single powerful blow, Thor felled the bull, its massive form collapsing to the ground with a resounding thud. The earth trembled beneath the force of Thor's blow, and the air was filled with the sound of thunder as Mjolnir struck true. In moments, the deed was done, and Thor stood triumphant, a victorious smile playing at the corners of his lips. Yet as Thor returned to Hymir's dwelling with the slain bull in tow, his sense of triumph was met with a surprising reaction from the Jotun. Hymir roared at Thor for slaying his finest bull without his consent. But it was already slain, and Hymir agreed to use it as bait. As Thor and Hymir set out to sea for their fishing expedition, the salty breeze whipped through their hair, and the rhythmic sound of the waves filled the air. With each stroke of the oars, the boat glided across the surface of the ocean, leaving a trail of foamy white in its wake. The sun hung low on the horizon, casting a warm glow over the endless expanse of water that stretched out before them. As they cast their lines into the depths below, it wasn't long before the sea answered their call. With a mighty tug on Thor's line, two giant whales, one after another, emerged from the depths, their majestic forms glistening in the sunlight. Yet even as the whales thrashed and twisted in protest, Thor's ambition remained unsatisfied. With a determined glint in his eye, he turned the boat deeper into the ocean, his hunger for adventure driving him ever onward. Despite Hymir's warnings of the lurking danger that awaited them, Thor remained undeterred, his heart filled with anticipation for the encounter that he knew lay ahead. For Thor, the prospect of facing Jormungandr, his arch-nemesis and the sworn enemy of Asgard, held a fascination that bordered on obsession. Then suddenly it happened. A mighty tug on Thor's line sent a jolt of electricity racing down his spine, his hands tightening around the fishing rod as he braced himself for the battle to come. With a roar that echoed across the ocean, Thor pulled with all his might, his muscles straining against the weight of his unseen adversary. As the boat rocked and swayed beneath their feet, Hymir's eyes widened in terror, his hands trembling as he struggled to maintain his balance. Yet Thor remained steadfast, his focus unwavering as he grappled with the creature that lurked beneath the surface. With each tug and pull, the tension mounted, the air crackling with the intensity of the struggle. But just as victory seemed within reach, disaster struck. In a moment of panic, Hymir reached for his knife and slashed at the fishing line, his actions born of fear and desperation. With a sickening snap, the line parted, and the creature slipped from Thor's grasp, disappearing into the depths below. For a moment, there was only silence, broken only by the sound of the waves lapping against the sides of the boat. Thor's expression was one of anger and frustration, his eyes blazing with righteous anger at the missed opportunity. Thor's fury burned like the fires of Muspelheim. With a mighty roar that shook the very foundations of the boat, he seized the Jotun by the collar of his furs and hurled him overboard, his bellow of rage echoing across the waves. Hymir's cries of protest were lost to the wind as he vanished beneath the churning waters, his fate sealed by his own cowardice. Thor sailed back to Hymir's dwelling and entered the humble house, his footsteps echoing through the empty rooms as he searched for the coveted cauldron. And there, amidst the clutter and chaos of the Jotun's abode, he found it, a magnificent vessel of gleaming bronze, large enough to brew mead for all the gods of Asgard. Thor seized the cauldron in his mighty grip, his heart swelling with pride at the sight of his prize. And so, with his mission accomplished, Thor returned to Asgard. He presented the whales and the cauldron to the Aesir gods and recounted the trials and triumphs of his journey. Finally, as the gods gathered below the sea to feast, Thor raised his voice in a toast to the giants Aegir and ran for their hospitality, and to his fellow gods for believing in him.